welcome back to Noah Garage. It's a Saturday afternoon, heading out to Queensland Raceway for Brisbane Roll Racing. Just been using this car. This is the stuff Corolla we're in for daily duties pretty much. So it's been dawdling around on unleaded, just generally hating it. The tune-up's pretty good though, so I'm hoping that the plugs aren't fouled. Dad came in today and threw some oil on a filter at it, gave it a look over, and it seems like everything's okay. There might be a small oil leak somewhere, I can't seem to find where it's coming from. So we're going to get it out to the track, ignite it out there and drain what's in it out and put some E85 in it, which hopefully should get it up to about 70%. So I'll get some footage while I'm out there and we'll make a video out of that. On the way though, it's about an hour drive. I may as well give you an update on the KE70 panel van. It's been going alright, it's progressing pretty good. I'll start at the front of the car. We've got motors in for good, the exhaust manifold is on for good. Unfortunately one of the studs pulled out of the side of the head on the exhaust side, so I had to put a helicoil on that. So that's bolted on, new gaskets from Golby's. The dump pipe, Dave's made some stainless dump pipe. It starts at 5" and then tapers down to 4 as it goes around the back of the manifold. Incorporates CO2 sensor, then continues down past the steering and then turns and goes out roughly on the outside of the chassis rail and dumps at the ground. The idea being we're going to put a cap on that or a valve on the end of that and run another exhaust off the side of the dump pipe. It's 2.5" to the back to a muffle clear diff, so on the road it'll be quiet. At the track we'll either take the cap off or open the valve. Haven't decided which way I'm going with that yet. There's not a lot of room, and at 4" pipe size the actual valves are quite large, so maybe it'd just be a V-band cap. Wastegate's on for good. He's made me a screamer pipe that's fashioned as usual. It's got to come in next week and do my intercooler piping for me and mount a throttle body on the inlet plenum. He sort of likes doing that and he wants to do it, so I'm going to let him do it. He's better at it than I am. Going back from there, gearbox is in for good. I've done the B&M Pro Ratchet shifter and all the cables for that. That was actually a bit of a bastard. I had to pull the linkage off and file that out and get the B&M one to fit. Nothing that fits first time. Tail shaft loops on it. Basically made that bolt in and I welded it and made a bolt in. Of course, on one side, after answering the phone call, I went and drilled a 10mm hole and I was trying to tap a 10mm thread, so I had to make nuts on plates to go inside the chassis rail to mount that. So further back from there, I've mounted the transcooler up, above the diff in that piece of steel that runs up over where the tooling, sort of the tooling above where that sits. The tail shaft is in it for good. The diff is actually fully assembled. Kip's gone over the centre and he wasn't completely happy with the cruise lash, but the load lash is okay. I think he said it's a 411 gear, which I guess with the 32 tall tyres that'll probably work pretty good. Just by a miracle the diff stayed straight and the axles went straight in, so I've reassembled all the race product stuff this time with all the seals and everything, so it's a final assembly. The rear brakes are on for good, calipers are on for good. All the hardware on the ladder bars have all been changed and greased by Nathan, so they're all fresh, ready to be adjusted. Got to get the car on a flat hoist before I can do that and scale it. Did the transmission cooler lines. I decided to do something different this time and actually reuse some of the old fittings that I have still lying around, so it's a credit to Speedflow. Man, there's some of those fittings and lines I've had for 20 years and I pulled them all apart, cleaned everything, and everything goes, they're totally serviceable still after 20 odd years. So I redid all the transcooler lines, converter charge dumps, all that junk. With Speedflow hose that probably started on my KE20 about 20 years ago. It's red and blue and braid, but I don't care. I've got to save some money where I can. So the gearbox, I'm going to have to put a pressure sensor in the line pressure, the converter charge pressure. There's a temperature sensor that we've put in the converter, basically the line coming straight out of the converter, so that should give us some pretty scary hot data. That pretty much completes what's under the car. I mean, I've got the drive shaft speed collar on there, and there's a couple other sensors. Basically trying to get underneath the car ready so that I can start wiring, and everything is there. I know where it's going to be and run a wire to it. Inside the car, everything's been carpeted. Andrew's made brackets to hold the dash, the factory dash back in, and obviously we're going to paint that up and make it look stock. I've got a Mako insert for the IC7 dash. Unfortunately, it sits pretty close to the under dash bar, so I'm going to have to modify that somewhat. Everyone thinks that the steering wheels that are on my car are hilarious because they're standard. I don't understand it, but I'm going to try and stick with that theme, and we'll reuse the standard KE70 steering column and clamshells around that. I've got the Nexus mounted under the passenger seat, same as what I did in the KE10. That seems to work pretty good. I got the M&W CDI box that I got at a Dance Commodore. It's mounted up under the dash on a bracket. Next to that is the TCA8 EGT box. I've got all the EGTs mounted on the manifold as well. For some reason, the Weldon ferrules, they don't allow the sensor to go through them. They're like a little ledge on them, so it means that only the open tip part is protruding into the pipe. I guess that would be okay anyway. I'm going to leave it that way. I'm not drilling it out now. So next on the interior, I think I've got to mount that Kirky seat somehow. Nothing on that car is straight or level, so there's going to be some custom brackets to get that to fit. Then after that, I think it's pretty much on to the wiring for the Nexus. I'm almost at the point where I've got every part, every sensor and accessory where it's going to sit, so I can start branching that out. And obviously the same goes with fuel system, fuel lines, any of that stuff. I need everything in its place to know what to order. I've also got to find someone to come out and make me some brake hard lines and soft lines. There's a few people I'm going to try for that, but I really don't have time to do it, and I don't have the tools and I'm not good at it, so I'll pay someone to do it. Anyway, other stuff that's been happening too is we've got the gearbox and the engine out of the Supra. Kip's going to take that and we're going to fire ring it. I think Ridgecrest or someone like that's going to make us some copper gaskets with a fire ring, and we're going to chuck a bill of planetary in the gearbox before it blows up and we junk everything. So version 2 of the Supra, probably up 1300 horsepower will be the goal. I'm going to use a short runner inlet that Dan's making me. The bike car, the diff is actually almost finished, so I'm pretty sure I'll have the diff within a week. And once again, I've got too many projects to try and get done, so we'll get stuck into them. But the panel van, I really want to have that running, not driving or finished, but running and tunable by the end of this month. So that's my mission. Alright, I'll get out to roll racing and have some fun, because I really need it after this week.
Holy shit, it's been lifting. Oh.
racing done and dusted. Pretty happy with how my little car went actually. Like literally take it from daily driver duties, drive it out to QR, drain the petrol out of it. The United put 20 or was it 57 litres of E85 in it, which brought it up to 74% or something. Drive to the track, change it to a manual shift instead of automatic, and beat it up for 3 hours on the track. I don't think I lost a race until I actually lost in the semi-final against Jacob's Cressida. The first run on the track, actually, I pulled straight out onto the track and Jacob was there, so I called him out. So mine on fresh tyres, not fresh, but not cooked tyres, without the stupid crank angle sensor issue that it seems to develop over time. I actually had a good race with Jake. We left at the same time, Jake, and yeah, I actually outran him to the finish line. That's the fastest pass my car has ever made on that surface, I'm pretty sure. I was just about tagging the rev limiter and top gear on the finish line. So it had some speed and it didn't really want to stop. So it might be something to think about with this thing. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do there, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But yeah, good night. Got to take some Euro scalps. Took some mates for drives. Also, for some reason, I didn't have a passenger in the eliminations, so I got very little footage of that. But basically, I think I won 2 or 3 in a row, and then I had to race the third one again because they couldn't pick a winner on the finish line. Nice little LC Tirana. Then after that race, I had to race Jacob in the Cressida, and he got a cool down lap. I come fresh off a rerun. I think mine was at about 110 degrees C or something stupid, and the tyres are probably at 50 million degrees. And we come around the corner and Jake was saying that he was having trouble getting the nitrous to switch on early enough and to get his car to move off the line. I think he fixed that a little bit too good because he got out real good, and my thing baked the tyres and he drove off into the distance. Probably wouldn't have caught him, or yeah, the tyres were gone anyway. So he ended up going through, racing another car, and then he ended up getting Will in the final. Now we retuned Will's car last week. I think I made 1257 or something like that, which is about 120, 150 up from wherever it's ever been. That was easily the quickest I've seen that car move ever. I was on a mission. Didn't actually have to touch or open the laptops on either car, so we just let the Haltech do what it did, looked after itself. I think Will said it got onto protection once in one round, so he might have pulled a little bit out of it for the last couple of rounds of the eliminations. But unfortunately for Will, in the final there, he got flustered. His car never dusted, never hit a tyre. It hooked up every pass, except for the final. I think Will just overcooked it a little bit because Jacob got out a little bit early, and yeah, the rest is history. Jacob ran away and he didn't have enough track to catch him. I mean, both those guys work pretty hard for what they do, so I think I would have preferred to have seen it rerun with a closer start just to see actually a good race. But anyway, congratulations to Jake. Also, check out the Auto Perfection YouTube channel. They've got a K24 powered Toyota Celica that's on the, well, they're trying to get it into the 7s. It's running 820s now. So I think me and him are going to go tit for tat with the K10 eventually when he gets his into the 7s. Should add another element. I think they're going down to Sydney Jamboree as well. So anyway, I'll get some work done and I'll see you next week.